Hello! Welcome back to Country Glamour! Today I'm going to be using the Jaclyn Hill x Morphe palette to create a fun summery look. I'm going to be using my Morphe M433 blending brush and dipping into the two shades Hunts and Roxanne. And I'm going to put that on my outer corner and blend it inward. So I have on these little eye pads that are supposed to help like tone and tighten underneath your eyes, and they're supposed to moisturize as well. I ended up getting them for my clients, and they come in little packages of 2 per package, but I figured I'd use this because I'm actually going to wing out the eyeshadow, and figured that this would be good to catch any fallout of any eyeshadow for one, and two, to kind of hold that shape so that I don't have to go back over it and carve it out and make it harsher than it is. This keeps it a more natural look. So like I said, I'm just going back and forth in windshield wiper motions, and I'm also kind of bringing it down onto my lid because it doesn't matter how messy you are going to get. We're going to pick up some concealer and go over that because we're pretty much going to make a cut crease. And if you haven't heard yet, I am actually living out of a travel trailer now. My husband and I moved down to Texas about a month and a half ago, and we've always kind of wanted to live in a trailer or build a container house or do something like that. So now we are living out of a travel trailer, but it is really nice and cute, and I absolutely love it. So if y'all happen to hear anything in the background, the RV park that we're staying at, they're doing some construction in the lot next door, so it's been a little bit loud lately, but not too bad. So as you can tell, I'm bringing up that color just a little bit, and it looks like I'm doing it really hard with the brush, but I'm actually doing it pretty softly. And now I'm going to be grabbing a Sonia Kashuk blending brush, and I'm picking up the shade Creamsicle, which is that like orangey yellow shade. And the reason that I chose this color is because it is going to help blend out any harsh lines from the darker shade that I used. It is enough of a different shade that it's going to make the lines look blurred, but it's not so different that it's going to just look really out there. So like I said, I'm just going to use this to blend out any harsh lines that are on the outer edge of that crease that I decided to make. And just be very light with it. I'm using very light windshield wiper motions going over that crease with that shade. So now that I have that done, I am actually going to grab my other Morphe brush. This is the Actually, I have no idea what shade this, or what brush this is called, because they did not put it on the actual brush, which is kind of strange. But it is a tapered blending brush. I don't have any product on this, so I'm just actually going to rub that in windshield wiper motions over that Creamsicle shade that I put on the outer corner, and this will help blur out any extra lines as well. Alrighty guys, so I'm going to just lift that up to make sure that that is the shape that I want on the outer wing of that shade, the outer wing of that crease. And I'm just going back over that with the M433 brush and just kind of deepening that V up in the outer crease so that it can stand out a little bit more. Grabbing my Sonia Kashuk brush with the Creamsicle shade over it, gonna go back over that so everything is nice and blended again. And then I'm going to also grab the other Morphe brush that doesn't have a name and go back over that so everything looks nice and blended and blurred. Apparently I'm going to have a little dance session too. So there we go. You can get it out of your system, girl. Alright, so I'm going to be using the Wet n Wild concealer. And I'm just going to rub a little bit from the wand onto the back of my hand. And I'm going to grab another Sonia Kashuk brush, and this is actually a concealer brush. I'm going to dip this on the top there, and I'm going to actually kind of put this at where my crease and lid start, which is also known as the transition area. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to blink, because that will actually let me know where I need to put a cut crease at, because basically if you blink and it goes up higher into your crease or what have you, then that's pretty much where you need to start your line and start carving it out, because if you make it too low, then your shade that you're going to use on your lid that's going to cut the crease is going to transfer up onto the crease, especially if you're using a shimmery shade like what I'm going to be using. And if you bring it up too high into your crease, then it's just going to look strange. So I like to put it exactly where that transition is, just a little bit, and then carve it out. And it gives you this perfect shape to follow, and it's literally like connect the dots. So that's what I'm doing with this concealer here, is I'm kind of stamping and dragging downward into that lid so that there's a nice little line of where it is cutting the crease. So it's not a super sharp cut crease, but it's definitely enough that it is noticeable and definitely splits the difference. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab the Urban Decay, I'm going to grab my Coty Airspun translucent powder. I'm going to set that concealer so that if I happen to look down any further or what have you, that it doesn't transfer up into my crease and ruin that line that I created. And then I'm going to grab the Urban Decay brush, and I'm going into the shade Pool Party. And this is such a beautiful teal blue shade. Look at how beautifully it goes on. It's so beautiful. And I'm just going to put that all over that lid area where we cut that crease. So I'm bringing it up into the spots that I cut, making it go all the way up into that line. So as you can see, kind of stamping and dragging as far as that goes too. And this also helps with any fallout, stamping instead of just like brushing it on there. Alright, so then I'm going to grab my MAC Fix Plus, and I'm actually going to spray a few spritzes onto that brush so that that shimmer stands out even more and it's a little bit more of a wet look on my eye, because I want that to be super shimmery. You can add glitter on top of this look as well. You can add a glitter liner into the crease to make that cut crease stand out even more, because I know it's not a very sharp cut crease, but it is definitely enough that I'm happy with it. All right, now I'm going to grab that Sonia Kashuk brush again. And actually, this is a different Sonia Kashuk brush. This is kind of a, it's got a little bit of a taper and an edge to it. And I'm going to go into the shade Hunts and Jacs. And I'm going to go along the outer corner there and kind of go over that blue shade that we put at the outer corner. I want it to kind of blend together, so I'm going to be going back and forth between grabbing brushes and trying to blend it out and make sure that it looks good. I'm going back in with that little brush, just going to bring it a little bit up into the crease, because those shades that I picked up on the outer corner on the lower lid are a little dark, but once you blend it all in together, it looks good. So as you can tell, I'm blending that shade closer into the inner corner of my lid, but not all the way. And I'm just going to repack that blue where I felt like it got a little bit lost. But whenever it kind of seems counterproductive, but whenever you blend it in closer into the actual lid shade, you can always go back over it, but it just makes it look so much more put together. And I grabbed the shade in Light from that, and I'm going to use that as my inner corner highlight. I'm going to grab the other end of that Urban Decay brush that has the blending side and blend out the rest because it had no product on it. So now I have the shape that I want, and I'm going to go ahead and do my other eye off camera, and I will be right back. Okay, so I'm going to be using the Tatcha Silk Canvas Primer. Unfortunately, they were all sold out of this at Sephora, so I happened to get some samples, and I should be getting that actually today, which is the day after I filmed this look. So I'm just rubbing that in. I do love the way this smells, the way it feels. It makes the foundation go on so beautifully. It just kind of blurs everything out, which I do love. Now this foundation is a newer foundation, and I feel like it kind of looks silly, but I have my damp beauty blender. I'm going to spray a little bit of MAC Fix Plus onto that. Going to grab my foundation, which is the Becca 24-Hour Coverage Foundation, and it's in the shade Cafe. Now the reason I say that this is kind of funny is I feel like it kind of has like that baby poop brownish tan look to it. It's kind of got like a greenish gray undertones. My husband says he doesn't like this foundation on me at all, which when I first put it on, yeah, it doesn't look very flattering, but once I have everything else on my face, I feel like it helps. But I love the formula of this foundation. It's nice and full coverage. You don't need a whole lot to get where you need to be. I'm bringing that into my the edge of my hairline so that it's nice and blended together and it's not just a blatant white spot of where my hair comes in. So as you can tell, all it takes is just one pump on each side. I don't even know that you would need one pump on each side, but that's what I do because I'm high maintenance. So obviously it's not going to match my neck, but my neck and face never match the tan on my chest or the rest of my body. So I usually have to buy foundations based off of my skin tone on my chest instead of basing it off my neck, because I always have to drag my foundation down my neck to make it match everything. And just using a damp beauty blender helps, and I'm just being very careful not to mess up that winged out shadow that I used. And then just cleaning up any spots, kind of going back over it, making sure that it's nice and pushed into that skin and into that primer that we already used. Now I'm going to take off my shirt and put it down my neck, that foundation. Now I'm using the same concealer, the Wet n Wild concealer, and I'm just using my damp beauty blender to go back over that, which is going to help blur everything together as well. And let me tell you what shade that Wet n Wild concealer is. So that shade, what is it? Is medium Tawney 842B. Yeah. And I have to say, for drugstore right now, like NYX used to be my favorite, but they're starting to get really expensive, which I get it. They have nice products, but I've been really loving the Wet n Wild line lately. They've got some good quality products out there, and they're only like $2. All right, so I'm going to set the concealer under my eye with my beauty blender. And then I'm actually going to take that translucent powder after I set my under eyes, and I'm going to coat it very lightly and just put that all over my face, because if you walk out with makeup on in the middle of Texas with the sun beating down on you, your makeup is going to melt off your face. So I'm just putting more concealer, more translucent powder on my problem areas, so places that I get especially oily, so around my nose, my forehead, my chin area. But I'm just trying to not make it look like a ghost, but as you can tell, just adding a little bit of that translucent powder kind of mutes that greenish gray undertone and kind of brings it back to life. I look a little ghosty right now, but I think that's partially the lighting in our trailer. I'm going to grab this Max Studio kit. I believe I got this from Marshall's for like $4. And I'm going to be using a Morphe brush. I have no idea what brush this is anymore because the actual handle portion fell off, but it's still big enough for me to actually use. I love using this to contour and bronze. I'm obviously using the darker shade out of that Max Studio concealer, or why do I keep saying concealer? It's a contour and brush set. Oh my gosh. A contour and blush kit. There we go. And this stuff is very pigmented for being from Marshall's for only like $4. Yes, I love it. And then this is just an older brush that I happen to have. And I'm going to be dipping into like the corally shade and like this peachy shade and mixing together to create my blush. And if I feel like I ever go over it too much blush, then I will grab my Sonia Kashuk fat puffy face brush, just like so, and I'll just do circular motions over that so that it's nice and blended out. Now I'm going to grab my Anastasia Beverly Hills plus Nicole Guerriero glow kit, and I'm going to be using the shade Daydream and 143. Now, this is a fan brush that I used from Sonia Kashuk, and I don't use this brush very often to apply highlighter, and I feel like the highlight kind of went on strangely, and I did not like the way that the highlight looked in this video, but you know, you live and learn. Usually I'll put it on with the edge of my damp beauty blender, but today I just switched it up for whatever reason. Obviously putting highlight on my nose, my Cupid's bow, and then this is where I grab my damp beauty blender. I sprayed some MAC Fix Plus on it, and I'm kind of just going over that. For one, it'll help set it into place, and for two, I can kind of manipulate where that highlight is. So all of that is done. I added lashes, I filled in my eyebrows, the rest of my face is done. So now I'm going to grab the shade Jacs on a Morphe flat defining brush, and this is I have no idea what brush it is either, but it's a flat definer brush. Basically I've used this brush so much that the number has rubbed off of it. So I left a little bit of space whenever we were winging out that shadow earlier so that whenever I did my lower lash line I could bring it down. So basically I'm just connecting from where the wing stops and connecting that to my lower lash line with that shade Jacs. And now I'm going to grab Crayon Apple and Meeks, and I'm going to put that on my lower lash line as well. And I'm not putting it in super close, but close enough. And I have no idea what brush I just used there, but it was a small little blending brush. Alright, so now that I have my eye look together, I'm going to grab some mascara and coat that. I believe it's the L'Oreal Voluminous mascara. I'm just gonna go over that like such. And the lashes I'm using are the Salona Eyesplashes. I did a review on these quite some time ago, and I was going to use them on my clients, but I wanted to use better quality stuff on my clients, but these still work pretty well. So now we're on to lips. This is the Wet n Wild, and I will link the shade down below. I can't remember right off the top of my head, but I love this shade. This like reminds me of what Lolita from Kat Von D would look like, except it's probably not as pigmented. But this stuff dries like satin-y instead of super matte, so it doesn't cake off your lips, and it just has like such a beautiful finish to it, and it stays put. Even if you eat or drink stuff, like it may come off, but the shade color is still like on your lips, so it kind of acts like a lip tint. But I think it's a very beautiful shade. And then I'm going to grab one of my favorite all-time things. I'll have to link the shade to this down below as well. But this is the MAC Dazzleglass. Oh my gosh, I love this stuff. It is like such a pretty lip gloss. Oh, it's so beautiful. It has like little sparkles in it, but it's just, oh, it smells for one like cotton candy, and for two, it just makes your lips look marvelous. So today I should be actually getting some lip glosses from ColourPop, and I'm going to review those in my next video. So I'm going to film another video today of those. Well, guys, this is the final look. I did want to mention that on the outer corner, I did apply a little bit of a gold color. It's actually from the Jaclyn Hill Morphe palette, and it is the shade Queen. It's the gold shimmer that she has, and I barely applied any sort of on the outer corner, but when I close my eyes, you can kind of see how it goes from blue to almost like a greenish yellowy tint. That's from that gold shade, that queen shade that I put on there. But yeah, I just felt like it makes it pop a little bit more, and it's a little bit more gradient, which is nice. So there you go, guys. Leave me a thumbs up if you liked it. Love ya. See you next video. Bye.